Hello and welcome. Today we want to solve the Information Technology Paper 4 Advanced Practical for October-November 2021 graphics creation task. So we are going to scroll to page 2. You have been supplied with the following source files: background1.png, background2.png, supplies.csv, item counter task.html. Create a folder called examination. You must save all your work in this folder. Copy these files into this folder. Do not delete these files when submitting your work. You must use the most efficient methods to solve each task. All work produced must be of professional standard and contain your candidate details. Okay, so the first thing is to make sure that in the source files, we are going to move our all the source files into a folder called examination. So this is the folder, right? We've moved all these into the folder examination. So it's just copying and pasting them in a folder called examination. Okay, then the next thing, task 1, use background1.png to recreate this image. The height of the whole image should be 500 pixels. Okay, so this means that the height from here to there should be 500 pixels, right? But the width, we were not told, but just looking at this image, you can see that it's almost square, but this looks a bit longer than that, right? So you're just going to estimate the width. So we can put a width of 600, so we can have a 500 by 600 work area. So you can see that the work area that you are going to be working with, you can create a 500 by 600, okay? So, right, so when you're opening your Illustrator, you choose pixels, and then you put the width of 600, right? And the height of 600. The height of 500, because the question actually said 500 pixels for the height. So that one is going to be specific, okay? Then you go on, create, then that's how you are going to come up with this work area, okay? So we're going to close the one that was there. Then the next question is not the magnified area in this circle, the red sans serif text, transparent light balloons to give an impression of a lens. So now that when you're looking at this, you can actually see that this is the magnifying circle and the area that has been magnified. So we are supposed to recreate something like this. Okay, so just from looking at this, you can see that this circle should be fitting this area. Okay, so we are going to make sure that we create a circle that is going to leave a small area, this area there, and a small area there. So knowing that our height was 500, we can then estimate how big this circle is. So we can give this circle, this ring, right, about 400 pixels, right, so that we can estimate that to be about 100 to make it 500 height. So to create this ring, now you're going to say, which shapes am I going to be using? So we are going to use a circle and put another circle inside, and we use our Pathfinder to remove the smaller circle inside to remain with a ring, right? So whenever we are answering questions in Illustrator where you need to do some drawing, you just need to break down the shape that you've been given. Break it down into small pieces that you can actually manage, and then you combine Pathfinder, unite, or minus front, or group. Okay, so let's do the circle first. So we are going to use our ellipse tool. We tap inside because we want to give specific dimensions. So you click once inside to have this ellipse box, right? So we said we want a circle which is 400 pixels. So this is going to create a 400 pixels, right? You go on, click on selection 2 to allow it to move, so we can move it like that. And we can see it as we estimate how it's supposed to look in the position. You can see that that is the about the distance that we want to leave on the top part, okay? So that is good. So for us to create a ring, we said we are going to create another one, right? We tap again because we want to create another smaller one inside. We can estimate 350. So we want to create a circle that is smaller. So 350 is going to give us a smaller circle. We go back to our selection 2, we click, we drag it inside. So we are dragging it inside, making sure that the center is going to, we want the center to intersect, okay? So when the center intersect, we know that we are creating a circle, a smooth ring, right? Right. When the center intersect, you can see actually that it was writing intersect. So now you are happy. You highlight the 2. And then the area that we want is this ring, right? So we say the area, the shape that you put on top, you can use that shape to cut the shape that is behind. So you remain with the shape that is being made out of the 2. So the output is going to be the ring there. So we are going to go to Pathfinder, and then select minus front. So it's going to remove the area. So the area that has the smaller shape has been removed. So you can see that by putting a color. So we're going to put black as our fill color. And we click on OK. So now we have our circle, right? So now that we have our circle, we now want to create the handle. So we are going to use the rectangle tool to create the handle. So we use the rectangle tool and we are going to click that. So that's our handle, right? So when you are done, you go back to selection 2. So this is going to allow us to rotate this shape. We rotate it. We want to position it in the position where we want it to be. So we bring back our circle, right? So this is what we want to have as our final positioning of our magnifying glass, right? So from the question, you can see that this has to touch that, right? So we need to drag that corner going there. We use the direct selection tool. You click on the shape, and when you go to the corner, now we want to drag this. You click and then you drag it there. So it means now you can actually control, okay? So we want to make it a bit inside there, right? So when you are happy, so the direct selection, you can go back to your question paper just to see that this area here, this one actually looks a bit wider and it's getting smaller going outside. So with our direct selection tool again, let's make this area a bit wider, that side. Okay. So the direct selection tool allows you to control your shape, right? So it looks like it's getting wider as it reaches the circle. So when you're now happy that this is what you want, you highlight the 2 and you right click, then group. Grouping will then make this shape one. So when you're moving it around, now it's now one shape and we already know where we are going to position it. So we are going to put it aside and do the next thing. Next thing is we want to bring that PNG out of our examination folder, and we want to make sure that we are going to, so this is the shape. We now want to do the magnifying, right? So we go back to our Illustrator, we put our image. So this, we want to, let's open a new working area so that we won't affect. We'll bring it back in there. We want to make sure that we won't affect the okay, let's just copy it. Control C, and then we paste it in there. Right. Now, when we are looking at our question paper, and this is the area that has been magnified, right? The area where there is BCCDEE, BCC, BCCDEE, okay? So there are other values. So we are going to closely look at this and look for the area that has the BCC, that area, right? So now that that is the area that has our BCC, and we want to only remain with that part that is magnified, we are going to firstly crop our image, right? So we want to remove, the other parts and remain with just the area with our BCC. That is what we want to just remain with, right? And we are going to stretch it because we want it to look zoomed, okay? So this is going to give an impression that we have zoomed, right? So okay, so now want it to be covering, we want it to be covering the area that is inside our circle that we have created, right? So our inner circle, we had given it at 350, right? So we will use the same size that we used for this so that it fits perfectly into the inner part. So we are going to go to our ellipse tool. We tape because we want to give dimensions. And we had said our inner circle was 350. So we create a circle that gives the 350 size, right? And then we place it in there, right? But when we are placing it as well, we want to have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, only 5 lines should be covered by this, okay? But the 3 are the main ones that are going to be really showing, okay? So when we go back, we need to make sure that we are only covering 350, so we can actually, this is opacity, so we can actually reduce the opacity so that you can see actually what is being covered by the circle. If you need to reduce, if you need to increase, so you can see that it's covering a lot of area. So I'm going to increase my zooming. So that we only have main 3 showing. Something like that. 1, 2, 3, and slightly on that one and slightly on that one as well. Okay, so I'm going to now highlight the 2. Right, and now that I have my clipping mask, highlighting the 2, I'm going to bring this shape now to the inside part of the Okay, actually this other B is not supposed to show. Let's see, we want to have just one BCC. So let's reduce it again, because whenever we are doing all this, we want to try and imitate exactly as the question has given us. Okay, so the other B should not be really showing. We just want to have the one single B, not the two B's to show. So I'm moving the circle slightly inside, right? So that we can only see one B, okay? Let's try to reduce our zooming a little. Okay, so let's check and see if we are close. The DEE, yes. So whenever we are looking at, is it really showing exactly as how it's showing from the question paper? Okay, so that's something we are looking at now. Okay, so we can work with this one, and then we do our clipping mask again. Right, so we are going to take this into the inside of the circle, right? Control C, we take it to our circle. We'll move this aside for now. So we want to place this inside the circle. Now that this is inside, it's showing some, we are going to group. We highlight the two and then right click, and then we group to indicate that this is now one shape. And then, now that we have grouped, we want to make that the light blooms, we want the light blooms to now show. So we are going to go and create light blooms. Okay, so we use the same circle. So we go to our ellipse tool, we click once, and we want the same size. So we are going to just use the 350, the inner part of the circle. And then this is our shape. When you want to move it, just remember to use the, okay. So we want now this to pick the color. So you use this eyedropper to click on the color that you want. So we want it to maintain this color. And we would like to make it a gradient. A gradient color. I think that would be best because we want it to show some green and some white. So this one, we can move it at the center a bit. And then we click there to make sure that we click there to make sure that we are putting our other color. Right. So we can work with that one. Okay, we can set that as our color for now. And then we use our Alt down arrow that is going to create another shape. Okay, so another same or duplicate the same shape that we have. So if you want a duplicate, you can click on Alt and any arrow. So I clicked on the down arrow. So now we have this other shape inside, right? So we want to take this area there. So we have moved it slightly inside because we want to create the bloom. So we are going to go like inside a bit like that. So we are going to take that area. So using our Pathfinder, we highlight the two shapes. Okay, we don't want that one to be part of it. Can we just highlight these two minus front so that we are left with that one? Control, Alt, down arrow, because we want a duplicate of this, right? So now that we have our two light blues, we want to bring them inside the shape. We bring them inside the shape. This one we have to rotate it because we want it at the bottom. So we are going to rotate to face up, right? And then we want to bring it down. Yes. So we want to have something like this to represent our light blooms. Okay. So when we now have our light blooms, we want to make sure we remove that DEE there, because from the question paper it's showing that that area we have to write Maui, right? So for now, we are happy with our light blooms, so we are going to highlight everything. We group because we want to make sure that whatever we are done with and happy, we don't want to lose it. We want to maintain it. So this is our final for now. Right. So now what we want to do is to make sure that that area has the same green, right? And we agreed we use our eyedropper to pick the same green. So our eyedropper, and then we pick the green. So the moment we pick the green, we want to use our ellipse tool. Let's select the tool. We want to use our rectangle shape to go and cover that part, right, with the color that we have picked, right? We want it to cover that part so that when we are looking at it, we want to see that green covered. So we are moving it in as well and stretching it. Okay. But we have another top part that we need to cover. So we are going to stretch again so that the whole green area is covered, right? Now we have that shape. We can also ungroup our shapes, right? So for now, we're going to highlight and group so that we just move them inside a bit, right? Now let's ungroup them so that we can do arrangement. We just want to make sure we arrange correctly. So if you highlight, it can allow you to ungroup. So you want this black ring to actually be the one that is in front. So you can arrange and bring it to front so that the green part shows in front of let's ungroup again. Okay, so this is the circle. Okay, the one behind, Control Z. Let's put our rectangle aside and ungroup this part because this one is reading to be grouped already, so that we want to make sure that these are now single shapes that we can actually work with without. All right. So let's bring this there. Arrange to front. Okay. So we want this green now to be at the front of this shape. Okay. So let's click on this one and put it aside because it was grouped on its own way back. Let's try to separate these. We want to ungroup them. Okay, so that we can see them as separate shapes. It's two showing to be together. Let's put our pieces aside. So this is the pieces that we have created and had grouped already. So we just want to move them. We want to separate this piece like that. So we just want to arrange them in a new order. Okay. So when we have that one and we have that one on top, okay. Right. Then on top of this, we are going to bring our magnifying glass. We bring the magnifying glass again, the one that is on top. Right click, bring to front. You go to arrange and bring to front if it's not showing. And this one, we want to bring it there. Right. So because this one is covering, we are now going to arrange, bring to front. So we are bringing the black in front so that the bloom, so that the edge becomes also smooth. That's why we had to ungroup and rearrange again. So this one, we are going to click it, make sure that it's also in front. So this is now just arrangement of our things. Bring to front. Okay, so on that area, we are going to type sans serif text, it's without loops, right? Sans is without serif loop, so we want text that is without loop. So we are going to type malware. Let's see, it didn't type the whole thing. Yeah, so we are going to end there because we just want to see the small a. The text should be a bit big, and also the text has to be red. So we have to change the color. We highlight our text. We need to change the color from black to red. And also increase the size of the text. I think let's try and test that size. Okay, we can work with that one. But also from the question paper, you can actually see that A is not supposed to really show in full. So we have to make sure that the A is also not showing, not all the parts of the A should show. We should see a bit of the A and the other part not showing. Okay, so we are also going to arrange it in a way that this black should be in front. So we are going to arrange and bring to front this black. Okay, so that's why we're trying to separate everything so that when we group at the end, now everything will be in order. So we can move and position it in a way where we feel it's good for us. So this would be our recreation. You can see that the malware, that A is not showing in full, and that part is also zoomed in, and we should have this at the back. So we'd already carried it with us. So this is the shape that we want to put at the back of the image. Okay, so we can stretch it so that it fills the area that we have been given. Okay, let's start by making sure that this is grouped so nothing is going to move from this one. Okay, so that this is, so now this is one shape. So when we are going to just position to not change, so now we can bring this shape and you just stretch it to make sure that it fills the area that we have been given. And that would be the end of our task by just saving, because we have placed all the recreation elements that we wish to have. Okay, and the positioning also, you should also make sure that you've tried to position it in a place where you feel that's an close recreation of the image. Okay, so having our to the left and top part, big top part there, and that's in our zoom. Now you can save. So the question is saying how are we supposed to save the image as a bitmap, named lens, followed by your sender number and candidate number with like that. So this is the name. It should be lens, right, as a bitmap image. So we are going to export. The reason why we export is because that's where you can have the different service types that you would want to have. So we are going to select JPG. They didn't say transparent background, so we can use JPG lens. Then you put your details, which details did they ask, followed by your center number and candidate number, and then like that. Okay, so you then put your center number, and then your candidate number, right? And then always make sure that you are saving your things in the folder that you have been told to use, okay? So that is going to make sure that all your things are safe, because when you are now submitting, you are going to submit soft copies, right? So because you're going to submit a soft copy, you have to make sure that all your information is in the folder. Whenever you're now doing all other tasks, we are going to be saving them in the examination. Okay, so it's bye for now. We are done with our task. This is the recreation question that we have answered to our task 1. Let's meet in the next when we do the task 2.